The night sky was calm above the earth, filled with stars and silence, but far away in the darkness, something huge moved quietly across space, with no sound, no light, only purpose. It was a ship not made by humans, not from Earth. It was cold and beautiful. And deadly. It belonged to the Amazons of the stars. They were not human. They were taller, stronger, faster than any soldier they had. Ruled planets for thousands of years. But now their time was ending. Their species was dying, not from war, but from weakness. Their genes were failing. Their future was dark. So they searched across the galaxy, looking for the strongest male to save them, and one planet showed promise. The planet was Earth, full of life, full of war, full of power, and in a small, quiet corner of that world, a man lived alone. His name was John Carter. He was a soldier, once brave and respected, now forgotten by the world. He had no family, no medals, no dreams, only silence and memory. He woke early before the sun. He ran through the trees, breathing the cold air with calm steps and strong legs, his eyes sharp, his mind quiet. Above him in the clouds, something watched him, eyes that were not eyes, sensors that saw every part of him. His bones, his blood, his DNA. The Amazon ship floated above Earth, hidden by advanced cloaking technology. It scanned the world. It studied every man, every soldier, every athlete, and again, it came back to the same man, John Carter. He had something others did not, a rare code in his blood. A strength not just of body but of soul and instinct. He had survived battles that others could not. He had a heart that did not break, a will that did not bend. The Amazons called him the anomaly, the miracle, the choice inside the ship. The Amazon Queen stood tall like a warrior, made of steel, her skin like silver, her eyes like fire. She looked at the screen that showed the man alone below, running through the woods. She spoke in her deep voice, and the ship obeyed. Prepare the beam, bring him. John returned home the same way he always did, calm and quiet. His cabin, small and clean, stood near the woods. He poured water, made tea, and sat on the wooden chair. He looked out the window. The sky looked strange today. The birds had flown away. The wind had stopped. He felt something, a deep cold in his chest, like the air had changed around him. Strange sound filled the room, low and smooth, not loud, but heavy. The lights flickered and went dark. The ground shook a little, like something massive had landed, but no sound followed, only silence, and that strange hum growing louder inside his head. He stood up. He grabbed the old rifle from the wall, his hands steady, his eyes alert. He stepped outside the cabin and looked up above him. The sky opened like glass. A circle of light appeared in the air, glowing and spinning faster than anything he had seen before. A beam shot down like a rope of silver. It wrapped around him, not burning, not hurting, but pulling, and in 1 second he was off the ground, floating. John shouted, but no one heard him. The world was still. The birds were gone. The air was frozen, and in a flash of light, he was gone. No trace, no sound, just empty space where he had stood inside the ship. John opened his eyes. He was floating in a glass room, glowing blue, his body held by invisible force, his heart racing. He tried to shout, to fight, to move, but nothing worked. The Amazons watched from outside the room, tall and silent like statues, their eyes studying him with cold interest. Queen stepped forward and said in a voice that shook the walls, "This is the one, the last hope, the human with the strongest genes in the galaxy." And as John floated in the glowing room, unaware of what was coming, unaware of the purpose behind his capture, the world below continued to move without him, and the future of two species began to change forever. The Amazons had chosen, and the galaxy would never be the same. John opened his eyes to a strange light. It was not sunlight, it was blue, and soft but endless. It moved like water around him, yet nothing was wet. His body floated in the air. His arms spread, his legs straight, his mind confused. He could not speak. He could not move. He was awake, but trapped around him. The walls were clear, like glass, but not glass. Something stronger, something not from Earth. Machines moved silently near him, long arms with blinking lights, cold metal with strange shapes. They scanned his body from head to toe. They did not touch him, but he felt every scan. Like a small breeze over his skin, outside the chamber, tall figures stood still. They were not men, they were not human, they were Amazon's tall, strong, fierce women with silver armor and eyes like fire. They watched him not with fear, not with hate, but with cold focus, as if he was not a man, but a question waiting for an answer. One Amazon stepped forward, taller than the rest, her armor dark red, her hair black like night, her face sharp and beautiful. Her name was General Kira. She had never lost a battle, she had never smiled. She looked at John with interest, like he was a weapon that could change everything. She turned to the other Amazons and spoke with calm power. He has passed the first scan. His body is healthy, his cells are active, his brain shows high instinct and low fear. The queen was right. This one is different. The chamber opened slowly. John dropped to the floor hard, but he stood quickly, his legs strong, his eyes angry. He looked around, ready to fight, ready to run, but the room had no doors, only walls that moved like air. A voice filled the space, soft and deep, not from a speaker, but from everywhere and nowhere. Welcome, human. You are now a part of the Amazon trials. You have been selected for a great purpose. John shouted. Where am I? What do you want from me? What is this place? The voice replied, calm and smooth. You are on the ship of the Amazon Empire. Your planet is one of many. We watch from afar. We seek the strongest, the smartest, the most evolved. We test them. We find the best, and we bring them here. You are that one. John stepped back, breathing hard. He felt trapped like an animal, but he also felt something else, a strange pull in his blood, like something inside him was waking up without warning. The wall in front of him opened, and he saw another chamber. Inside was a creature large and muscular, not human, not Amazon. It was another male from another world. It stood with 4 arms and glowing eyes. It roared at him and charged forward. The lights turned red. Alarms rang. Amazon stood silent. This was the second test fight or fall. John did not wait. He moved fast. Years of training, years of war, came back to him. He dodged the first strike, rolled under the second, grabbed a loose pipe from the floor, and hit the creature hard across the leg. It stumbled and roared again. But John kept moving fast, smart, deadly. He saw a weak spot near the creature's neck. He climbed its back, held tight with one arm, and used the pipe like a blade. He struck the soft spot again and again until the creature dropped to its knees and then to the floor. The room went silent again. The red lights turned blue. The creature did not move. John stood over it, breathing hard, his face cut, his arm shaking, but his eyes were full of fire. General Kira looked at him with a new face, not cold, not angry, but something close to respect. She turned to the others and said, this one fights like 10, this one learns like 100, this one survives. The voice returned, now louder. This human has passed test 2, begin test 3. Prepare the mind scan. John looked up, confused again, but before he could ask, the room changed again. The walls became bright. Images flashed in front of his eyes, not real, not fake, just memories. His old home, his dead brother, his first war, his last goodbye. Each memory shone and pulled and twisted his pain, his joy, his fear. Screamed, but not from pain, from truth. He saw his whole life in seconds, and then silence. He dropped to the floor again. Eyes wide, chest heaving, but inside he felt something else now. Not fear, not rage, but power. He had passed something deep inside himself, and it had changed him. The Amazons looked at each other, whispering. For the first time, some were afraid, not of him, but of what he meant. The queen appeared on a screen, her face calm, her voice slow. This one is not like the others. He is not just strong, he is awake. He is aware the trials are not yet over, but he has already become more than expected. She looked at John and spoke directly to him. You may not understand your place now, but you will soon. John stood slowly, blood on his face, fire in his chest. He looked at the screen and said, I am not your tool. The queen smiled, not yet. John stood in silence, his fists clenched, his breath steady. The lights in the chamber dimmed around him. Machines stopped moving. Walls melted into soft mist, and the blue glow turned to a deeper color, like the sky before a storm. A door opened for the first time, not with sound, but with soft air flowing through it, like a breath from another world. 2 Amazons stepped forward. One was General Kira, still cold and sharp like a blade. The other was new, her face softer, her eyes full of thought. Her name was Alana. She did not wear armor. She wore a robe of silver lines glowing like stars. She looked at John not like a test, not like a subject, but like a question she wanted to answer. "Come with us," she said, her voice gentle like wind and leaves. John followed without a word, his steps heavy, his mind full of questions, but no answers yet. They walked through long halls, walls like glass showed the stars beyond ships, moving like birds in the sky, other beings behind glass, each in their own cell, each one strong, each one strange. John stopped near one chamber. A male creature floated inside, much taller than him, his skin dark green, his eyes closed. "Who is that?" John asked, his voice low. "Kira," replied one who failed. "Failed what?" John asked. "The test," Kira said. John walked again, slower, now his heart beating harder, his mind starting to fear what these trials truly meant. They reached a room unlike the others. It was round with lights above, shaped like suns. In the center was a tall platform with lights circling it. "Sit," said Alana, pointing to the platform. John looked at it, then at her, then he sat. She stepped forward, holding a small orb in both hands. It floated above his head and glowed. "Now you will see," said Alana. The light grew until everything around him vanished. He was no longer on the ship, no longer in the room. He stood in a memory, but not his own. He saw the Amazons as they once were, a mighty people, a race of warriors and builders. They ruled the stars, they kept peace with power, but time changed them. Their numbers fell, their children were few and weak. Their warriors began to fade, not from war, but from their own blood. Science failed them, cloning failed them. Machines could not give life, only nature could, and nature was silence. So they searched across space for strength, for survival, and they found Earth. John saw images of humans through time, from fire to cities, from swords to machines, from weakness to power, and they watched. He saw old files, images of wars, of victories, of pain, of kindness, of hope. They studied all of it. They saw humans not as animals, not as danger, but as something rare, something pure, something with evolution that did not stop. Then he saw his own file, images of him in war, saving lives, holding friends, crying alone, fighting without fear, standing when all others fell. He saw charts of his DNA, words he could not read, numbers he could not count, patterns in his blood like ancient code. Then the vision broke, and he was back in the room, his heart racing, his body shaking. "You were made for more," Alana said. "Why me?" John asked, his voice cracked. "Because you carry the gene," Kira replied. "Not just strong, not just smart, but balanced." Alana stepped closer, her eyes bright. "You are what we lost. You are what we must become." John stood up, his legs shaking. "You want to use me to breed?" Kira did not speak. Alana looked down, then met his eyes. "Not use." Join. John laughed, but there was no joy in it. "I am not a tool. I am not a lab animal, we know," said Alana. "That is why you are here. Others broke, you did not. Others obeyed, you fought. Others feared, you questioned." John turned away, looking at the stars through the wall. "You watched us like animals. You chose me like a thing, and now you speak of joining." Alana stepped closer, still her voice soft again. "We did not understand you before. Now we begin to see. You are more than a body. You are more than a mind. You are a heart with fire." The door opened again, and the queen entered, tall, calm, her presence like thunder. Without sound she looked at John with eyes that saw everything. "You are not prisoner," she said. "Not anymore." "Then let me leave." John replied. "Not yet," the queen answered. "You must decide, not for us, for you." "What do you mean?" John asked. The queen raised one hand, and the wall behind her changed, showing Earth spinning slowly, full of life, full of noise, full of fire. "If you leave now, you will forget us. You will return to silence. But if you stay, you will help shape a future, not just for us, not just for you, but for all who may." Kunjan stood frozen, not afraid, not angry, but full of thought. The queen turned to walk away, her last words like stone falling from the sky. "The choice is yours, but know this, the truth is never safe." John sat alone in a quiet chamber. The stars outside moved slowly like waves on a dark ocean. His hands rested on his knees, his eyes open, but empty. The truth had changed everything. He was not here by accident. He was not here by mistake. He was chosen. He was built for this. The door behind him opened. Without sound, Ilana stepped in, her face calm, but her eyes restless. She walked slowly and stood beside him. "Are thinking too much," she said gently. John did not move. "I do not belong here," he replied. "You do not belong on Earth either," she said without pause. John looked up, his jaw tight, his voice sharp. "I belong where I choose, not where I am taken." Alana nodded once, then sat beside him. They both looked at the stars without speaking. The silence felt alive deep. In the ship, other voices whispered. Not all Amazons agreed with the Queen. Not all wanted human blood mixed with theirs. Not all believed that one male could save a dying empire. In a dark part of the ship, a group gathered, their armor black, their eyes cold. They did not speak of peace, they spoke of purity. "We were warriors long before humans walked the earth," said one, tall and proud. "We will not kneel to their flesh." The leader of the group was called Vetra, her voice like fire, her mind sharp like broken glass. She had seen the tests. She had watched John fight. She did not fear his strength. She hated it. "Queen has lost her way," she said. "She chooses emotion over honor. She bows to a male. We will not follow her into darkness." Others raised their fists in silence, their eyes filled with purpose. Back in the upper chambers, General Kira stood before the Queen, her hands behind her back, her face unreadable. "There are whispers," she said finally. "I hear them," the Queen replied. "They will not stop with words," Kira said. "Then they will meet more than words," the Queen answered. She looked into the screen showing John and Alana, still sitting, still silent, still human. "He has a choice," the Queen said, "but so do we." John stood finally, his body heavy, his mind burning. "I need answers," he said. "Not words, not visions, the truth." Alana stood too. "Then come," she said. They walked through the ship halls again, but this time it felt different. John felt eyes on him, not of wonder, but of hate. They passed guards who did not bow. They passed Amazons who turned away. The air grew thicker, the silence louder. They reached the core chamber, a place only few had seen, a place full of old light and older machines. The center was a crystal, not large, not glowing, but still in gray. Alana touched it lightly, and it lit with soft fire. "This holds the first code," she said, "the pure DNA of our beginning, the start of all Amazons." John looked at it with narrow eyes. "Then why do you need me?" "Because we lost balance," Ilana said. "We grew strong, but not kind, fast, but not wise. We lost what you kept, and you think I have the answer," John said. "Not just you," Ilana replied, "but what you carry, what you pass, what you protect." Before John could reply, the floor shook, not like before, not soft this time. It was war alarms rang red. Lights flashed, walls closed, doors locked, voices shouted across the ship. "Vetra has moved," Kira shouted into the comms. "The rebellion has begun." John looked at Alana, who grabbed his arm and pulled him quickly. "We must go," she said. Now they ran through the shifting halls, now full of noise, Amazons running in every direction, explosions near the engine room, smoke rising from vents, sparks flying from walls. Vetra appeared on every screen across the ship, her voice cold and hard. "We take back what is ours. No more weakness, no more human dreams. The old blood returns today." John stopped running and turned around. "I am done running," he said. "Show me where to fight." Kira met him at the junction, her armor marked, her face cut, but her eyes burning. "You wanted truth," she said. "Now earn it." She threw him a weapon, not a gun, not a sword, but a rod of light shifting with power. John caught it and felt it pulse in his hand. It knew him, it welcomed him. Together they moved through fire, through metal, through fallen Amazons. They fought side by side. Kira with speed, John with power. Alana guided them through broken halls, through fallen doors, to the heart of the ship where the rebels had gathered around the Queen. Vetra stood tall, her blade ready, her words sharp as death. "You brought this male here, you let him poison our blood, now you will fall with him." Stepped forward, his chest heaving, his voice loud and clear. "I did not come to rule, I did not come to breed. I came to fight for choice, for life, for future." Vetra charged, her blade high. John met her with the rod, their clash shook. The chamber, light and shadow danced, fire burned around them, but he did not fall. With one final move he struck her down, not with rage but with purpose. The room fell silent, the rebellion cracked. The Queen stood slowly, her eyes on John, and spoke in a voice the whole ship could hear. "Let this be the turning point, not ruled by blood, not ruled by fear, but by what we choose to become." Smoke still floated through the halls of the ship. Sparks danced on broken metal walls. Amazons walked slowly with heavy steps. Some carried the wounded, others searched the ruins. But the sounds of war had ended. The rebellion had fallen, but the scars were deep. John stood in silence near the main chamber, his clothes torn, his arms bruised, the rod of light still in his hand. It no longer glowed, but it felt warm, like a living thing resting after battle. Alana stepped beside him, her face covered in ash, her hair tied back, her eyes watching him, not like a leader, not like a scientist, but like a person who had seen too much and still hoped. You did more than survive, she said softly. You led. John looked at her with tired eyes. I did not come here to lead, he said. I only did what was right. That is why it worked, she replied. Queen entered the chamber, her robes torn, but her voice strong. She looked at the Amazons around her and raised one hand. We were broken, she said. We were divided. We chose fear over future. But this man, this human, stood for something greater. She looked at John and nodded. We owe him more than thanks. We owe him trusts. Some Amazons still watched with doubt. Some still feared the path ahead. But others stepped forward, heads bowed, not in weakness, but in respecting. The days that followed the ship changed. No longer a place of tests and silence, now a place of healing and plans. Walls were repaired, old weapons destroyed, new halls opened. Training began, not for war, but for unity. John walked those halls every day, not as a prisoner, not as a subject, but as an ally. He learned their ways, their language, their dreams, and he shared his own, not with pride, but with honesty. One morning, Alana brought him to a new room, large and round, with soft light and clear walls. Inside stood young Amazons, no armor, no fear, just questions. These are our next generation, she said. They must know you, not just the warrior, but the man. John stepped inside slowly, his hands open, his voice calm. He told them about Earth, about his past, about strength that does not come from power, but from pain and choice and love. Young ones listened, not with doubt, but with wide eyes. They saw not just a human, but a bridge between what was and what could be. Days turned to nights. The stars outside kept moving, and something strange began to grow, not forced, not planned, something simple and strong. A bond. John found himself drawn to Alana, not just for her mind, not just for her voice, but for the way she saw him, not as a savior, not as a tool, but as someone real, someone whole. They sat together, often not talking, just watching the stars. Her hand near his, never touching, but never for own night. He asked her, what do you see when you look at Mesh? Answered quietly, I see change, I see hope, I see someone I do not want to lose. Did not reply with words. He only reached out and held her hand for the first time. No glow, no music, just warmth in the heart of the ship. The Queen watched, unseen, her face calm, her eyes deep. She turned to Kira and said, it begins. Kira nodded once, then asked, are you sure this is the path? The Queen replied, it is not the old path. It is not the safe path, but it is the only one that leads forward. Elsewhere, deep in the data chambers, the machines worked night and day, studying the new bond, scanning the DNA of John and comparing it with Amazon code. Something strange was happening, something not planned. The code was merging, not forced, but natural. Alana and John were changing, not in body, but in essence. A new pattern forming, not human, not Amazon, but something more. The council gathered one final time. Amazons of high-rank minds, sharp in voices louder than storms. They argued, they feared, they hoped, they questioned. Queen stood before them and spoke clear and slow. We have taken many paths and found only walls. Now we see a door not built by us, but opened by trusts. Some still feared the unknown. Some still wanted control, but more stood in support. This was not a choice of science or war. This was a choice of future. John entered the chamber, not as a warrior, not as a test, but as a partner. Beside him, Alana stood tall, her eyes bright, her hand in his. The Queen looked at them both and said, this bond is not perfect, it is not safe, but it is real, and for the first time in many stars, we choose real. Chamber filled with light, soft and warm. No cheers, no loud words, just peace. John looked at Alana and whispered, thank you. She smiled, not with her lips, but with her heart. The stars outside were no longer calm. Signals moved between ships. Like silent lightning messages, sharp and fast warnings sent from Earth reached deep into space. Human leaders had seen the Amazon vessel near their orbit, invisible. No longer silent, no more. Earth believed it was a threat. Governments joined minds, military teams were formed, weapons charged, satellites turned eyes to the sky. The fear of the unknown burned stronger than reason, stronger than truth. Inside the Amazon ship, John stood on the command deck, his eyes locked on the screen showing Earth growing closer every hour. He could feel the tension in the air like a storm. Hiding behind glass, Alana stood beside him, her fingers moving across the console, tracing the signals from Earth. Their weapons were not as strong as the Amazons, but they were fast, many, and without fear. They will strike first, she said quietly. Their fear is louder than our message. Queen entered the room, her robe dark, her voice calm. They have not answered our call. They only see shadows, not hands. John turned to her. Then we must show them who we are, not just with words, but with choices. The Queen looked at him long and deep, then nodded. We prepare for peace, but we must be ready for war. General Kira led the ship defense, her voice sharp, her mind clear. She did not want war, but she understood it better than peace. Her Amazons moved fast, setting up barriers, charging shields, training the young and the old. John trained to not with swords, not with fire, but with strategy. He knew the way. Humans thought he knew fear. He knew what panic could make people do. He had seen it in battle, seen it in leaders, seen it in himself. He stood before the Queen and said, "Let me speak to them. Let me try before blood is spilled." The Queen paused, then gave him the old signal stone, a device older than the ship, a beacon of thought and voice. He would speak from the heart, and Earth would hear. He stood in the center of the ship, a ring of light around him. His voice sent across the stars. "I am John Carter, a human like you, taken, not broken, tested, not destroyed. I found strength in those you fear. They are not monsters, they are not enemies, they are survivors, they are warriors, and now they are friends." He paused, then breathed slowly. "We can fight, and we will lose more than lives. We will lose what makes us human. We can listen, and we may still fear, but fear can lead to truth if we let it." There was no answer at first. Silence from Earth, silence from the stars, then screens flashed, alerts rang. Human fleets were moving. "They are not listening," Alana whispered. John closed his eyes, then opened them with fire. "Then we make them seethe." Queen looked at him with the weight of history in her eyes. "Do what must be done," she said. John moved to the ship bridge, spoke to the key Amazons, not as a leader, not as a stranger, but as one of them. "We defend, but we do not destroy. We show them our strength and our choice." The Amazon ship moved slowly into view. For the first time, Earth saw its shape, vast and beautiful, covered in light, not darkness. Its weapons ready, but silent. Earthships surrounded it, their captains shouting commands. Missiles locked, jets roaring across space, ready to strike. John opened the channel again. "This is your last chance. I am not a hostage. I am not a traitor. I am your mirror. If you fire on yourselves for..." One moment all was still, then a missile launched, then another. The sky lit up. Amazon shields rose, like a dome of stars, blocking the fire without pain, without anger. Kira gave no order to strike back, her hands steady, her eyes on John. "We hold," he said. "We hold until they see." Another wave of fire, this time stronger, this time closer. The ship shook, alarms rang, but still no strike back. Inside Earth command rooms, confusion rose. Why no counterattack? What did they want? What kind of enemy does not shoot back? Then one missile broke through, hit the outer wall. Sparks flew, pressure dropped, lights faded. The ship trembled. Alana was thrown to the ground. John ran to her, held her close. Her arm was bleeding, but she smiled, still alive. Queen rose slowly and said, "Enough, now we answer." John stepped in front of her. "No more fire. Let me go to them. Let me stand on Earth and show them who I am." The Queen looked at him, then turned to Kira. "Prepare the pod." Minutes later, John stood inside the drop pod. The door closed around him. Ilana touched the glass, her eyes full of fear and hope. "Come back," she said. "Always," he replied. The pod launched, cut through the dark sky, fell to Earth like a star, not of fire, but of fate. Humans Watched it fall, some feared, some waited, some began to wonder if they had been wrong as the pod opened and John stepped onto the ground. The whole world paused to listen. The wind on Earth felt different to John, not cold, not warm, but full of memory. The ground beneath his feet carried the weight of war and peace together. The sky above him was heavy with eyes, some human, some watching from stars. The pod behind him hissed as it cooled, its metal skin glowing faint. The dust settled, and silence held its breath. Soldiers stood around him, weapons pointed, hands tight, sweat falling behind helmets. He raised both arms slowly, not in fear, not in surrender, but in trust. His voice calm, his words clear. I am not your enemy. I am not here to fight. I am here to finish what we all started. From the command tent, a voice replied, strong but unsure. Step forward alone. John walked slowly, each step louder than thunder. In that still moment, his eyes met theirs, faces hard, but hearts unsure. Inside the tent, leaders waited, generals, scientists, diplomats, men and women who had watched the sky with fear and saw a ship they could not understand. John entered the tent, stood tall and quiet, his clothes still marked by the Amazon ship, his hands open, his eyes full of stars. They asked questions fast and sharp. Where have you been? What do they want? Why are you with them? What have you become? He answered with truth, not polished, not perfect, just real. They took me, but they did not break me. They tested me, but they did not twist me. They needed help, not power. They needed hope, not slaves, and they saw something in us. Something we forgot we had. The room was quiet, no one moved. A general leaned forward. What did they see in us? John looked around slowly and said, survival, not with blood, not with bombs, but with balance. He reached into his suit, pulled a small device, placed it on the table. A soft light rose from it and showed a figure, not human, not Amazon. Something knew. This is what comes next, he said. Gasps filled the room, voices rose, questions flew. Is it safe? Is it real? Is it human? John spoke louder. Not a weapon, not a god, not a mistake, a choice. Behind the glass of the base, doctors studied the data, genetic patterns, new strands forming human strength. Amazon, clarity, speed, emotion, control, evolution, without pain, power, without pride. Back on the ship, Alana watched the earth, feeds, her fingers shaking, her eyes wet. The queen stood beside her, quiet and proud. He's doing what we could not, she said. He is making them see. Alana nodded, but her heart raced with every second, every signal, every word. In the Earth-based, time moved fast. Talks began not with peace papers, but with shared stories. John told them of the tests of the Amazon, history of the Civil War on the ship, of the moment he chose not to fight back when fire came, of the girl who held his hand without fear, and they listened not just with ears, but with the silence that only comes when truth cuts through noise. Days past, ships floated above, but did not fire. Soldiers trained, but did not march. The Amazon ship opened its gates for the first time. Leaders walked aboard, not as rulers, not as threats, but as guests. They saw children training in light, not war machines. They saw statues of warriors holding hands, not blades. They saw a new wing being built for a future not yet born. In one chamber, deep inside the ship, doctors and scientists from both sides worked together. They watched the new DNA grow, not fast, not dangerous, but steady, a child not yet born. A blend not of control, but of consent. Alana stood beside them, her hand resting on her own stomach, her face calm, her soul on fire. John entered the chamber and stood beside her. No words passed between them, only breath, only eyes, only silence that said everything. The queen joined them, her robe simple, her crown gone. She placed one hand on Alana's shoulder and said, we are no longer Amazons alone. We are more. Earth sent messages across the world. Newscasters spoke of peace, not fear. Schools taught of stars, not war. Children looked up and saw a ship and smiled. Instead of hiding, John stood once more before both worlds. His voice carried through every screen, every city, every heart. I was chosen, but not because I was the best. I was chosen because I was willing, because I stood when others fell and listened when others shouted. And now we all have that chance. We can rise or fall together. We can fight or build. We can fear or learn. And today we choose to become more He paused, then said the last words slow and clear. Humanity was never weak. We were just waiting to be seen. The stars above did not blink. The earth below did not shake, but something changed. Something old ended and something new began. Not with fire, not with steel, but with choice.